Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
It is good to see you all. Hope you all had a good night. I certainly did at the Acorn Hill Lodge, and I am eager and ready to go. So say hi to Fran again. Joining us by Zoom. There may be others who will do that. So welcome to the Peakland Baptist Church retreat today. Thank you for your presence and your participation. I hope that, my intention is that we will have fun and we will have some mutual learning, all right? So, I think everybody knows who I am, Michael Chuck, the guy that, doing this thing, former interim minister. Allow me to begin with a word of prayer. O most gracious and compassionate God, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for the gentle rain that falls to replenish the dryness of the earth. How your grace and compassion continues to gently fall and surround us, even in the midst of a world that is hurting in trauma, suffering from violence and pain. I give you thanks for this congregation, this local expression of your body, for each individual who is here on Zoom, those who are not able to attend today, but are intricately part of this community. May you bless them. And during our time together, may your Spirit enlighten, inspire, guide, and shine forth to help us have a sense of your leadership and how Peakland Baptist can continue to be a channel of your love and healing and community here in Lynchburg and beyond. I pray these things in the name of the Christ. Amen. All right. So, just want to check in with you all this morning. What's one word that describes you right now? If you would like to share. It's not mandatory, but...
Excited.
Excited. Okay, great.
Happy.
Happy.
Fulfilled.
Fulfilled.
Right.
What was that, Leslie? Bright. Okay, yes. Yeah. Good. So, this exercise is just to acknowledge, right, that we all come with different places, not just geographically, but also emotionally. Like excited, bright, happy, and so forth. I come excited, but also with a continuing deep sadness in my heart for the loss of a family member, right? And so we welcome you fully as you are. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to put on a face or whatever. We just acknowledge that this is where you are now, and that we're going to be here for one another, with one another, in the presence of God's Spirit. All right? Great. Thank you. So, I also want to acknowledge, what we're doing here and so forth is only a piece of what this church has already been doing. And it's been exciting as I hear a report from Martha and Ed and so forth, and was wondering, is there anything that you want to come and kind of give a report? Maybe everybody already knows, but sometimes it's nice to kind of have a recap.
Yeah, so I came in April of 18, whatever day it is, 2018. Since then, we have restructured our congregational council to fit the size of our church. We have restructured our missions to focus in on local missions that we decided are important to us. We have worked on our worship. We got through the pandemic. Let me hear a whoop whoop. And let me tell you this too about getting through the pandemic. This church was flexible in the moment. Whatever needed to happen for the safety of our people, we did it. And because we're Baptist, we didn't have to answer to anybody. We did whatever we wanted to. But we also did it with that intention, always in favor of the health of the people. And in my experience, there was very little pushback. Everybody in the system was all good with whatever we had to do in order to keep people safe during the pandemic. Since the pandemic, last year, oh my gosh, 2023, we said our goal was to connect with each other, and what did we do? We connected with each other. We did great work last year. And in addition, last year, we spent the entire year focusing in on our values, our 3 values that make up the triangle of who we are, and they are... No!
Early in the morning. Teacher, we need help.
Okay, so they are the 4 Baptist freedoms. And that's right. That's right. The 4 Baptist freedoms, which I'm not going to ask you what they are, but this is Baptist stuff. The other one is what we're doing right now, hospitality, welcome. And the last one is kind of the deep identity of this church, the right of every person to walk their spiritual journey exactly how they need to walk it. So when we come to this moment where we're now looking towards the future, that's what we've done.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. And so as I listened to Martha and to Ed when they were sharing me kind of your journey so far, this is kind of like my takeaway, right? The 4 Baptist freedoms, the value of hospitality, creating a safe space and community for everybody, and then recognizing and acknowledging, honoring even, each person's spiritual journey. These are the church values that you have come to identify and you want to embody and to live out. I also learned that in terms of this church's discernment regarding how this church can serve the community, that there are 3 big things. First is kind of food and economic insecurity, and you're partnering with Parkview Community Missions in doing that. I mean, just seeing the bins of food and hearing Ed about like your monthly, getting together to help the community, that is becoming a part of who Peakland Baptist is. But I also have heard that there is this sense of acknowledging that we are lonely, we're disconnected in our neighborhoods, in our community, and to live out a value of hospitality, perhaps another way that this church can meet community needs is to find ways to creatively, lovingly address the issue of loneliness, of disconnection. And then finally, recognizing each other's spiritual journey. I think for me, the correlation to that is as part of the loneliness, as part of maybe the various kinds of challenges that individuals face, people need healing. People need healing as individuals. People need healing in community. And so that aligns with the value of this congregation's hospitality, and also recognizing and honoring each person's spiritual journey. Because we also understand and have seen how some folks might have been traumatized by their previous spiritual journey, and how this space, this place, can serve as a true sanctuary for those who come through his doors and beyond. So I'm going to pause here and wonder if there's any other, maybe I've gotten some things incorrect, right? And so just like correction, feedback, additions to what I think I was hearing when I was having conversations with your church leaders. There's quiet. And I'm going to take that as that this is pretty close, that you resonate with it, that there isn't anything that is so like off track that you want to raise your hand and correct, which is absolutely fine too, right? But I just want to give that opportunity. Okay. So sensing no, resistance or whatever, here's what we're going to do this morning. We're going to now focus on this church's assets, the interests of the folks around this table, and frankly, kind of beyond in the church community, and the things that you're passionate about. And so the identification of these things, this is what I hope will happen, is that then in the afternoon, we're then going to identify a list of possible congregational strategic initiatives. Oh, that's a mouthful. New actions, possible new actions that connect two or more church assets, that meets community needs, in alignment with the church's values, to envision possible scenarios for Peakland Baptist's future. So you see that little, I'm kind of geeky and nerdy, right? I've got a little Venn diagram with 3 circles and overlapping, blah, 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 right? So, but you can kind of see right in the middle, the yellow kind of triangular is where your values and the community needs and the gifts and talents that you have kind of overlap, and that might be the sweet spot to identify possible directions forward for Peakland Baptist Church. And so that's like the kind of the graphically overview of the work that I hope we will be able to accomplish today. Okay? Any questions? Okay. And you are hearing me all right? I'm kind of leaning forward and you're seeing me okay? I'm not breaking the camera or great. All right. Okay. Welcome. All right. So once again, to be clear, what we're going to do this morning is to identify current assets and resources at Peakland Baptist. So like not what you hope to have, right? But you actually have. Then prayerfully discern concrete action steps for Peakland to take in this year and beyond, for the next couple of years, right? Toward the church's vision and mission, in alignment with your core values, leveraging the gifts and talents and assets that you have at your disposal to minister alongside specific groups that Peakland is called to serve. All right. Raise your hand if I'm going too fast or whatever, right? So don't want this to be just a pure monologue. On your table is a handout that has the participants' agreement. And so if you wouldn't mind just take a moment to read through that, these bullet points here are the kind of encapsulation. And so this is a lot, but I don't think it's really, onerous. But read through it. See if there's anything you want to add to it or subtract. Any concerns? Because after that, then I'm going to ask each and every one of you to assent, to agree, to abide by this agreement during our time together today. All right, since people are looking, if you're done, if you can kind of look up. Yeah. Is anything that you have concerns about? Like, okay, so frequently asked question about cell phones. I also understand that there could be like a family situation that you just need to be able to access your phone, and if it notifies you, right? I totally get that. Absolutely. So, but just in general though, it really helps for us to really stay focused and present with one another. So there's that. But any other kinds of concerns or additions that you would like to add? No? Okay. I do have then one more thing. And that is my role, the facilitator's role. And so I may interrupt you. It's not personal. It's just to help regain focus, manage our time and flow together. And also, if I sense that maybe, there are a couple of folks who we haven't heard from, I might invite them to speak, to give them an opportunity if they so choose, right? So make sure that as I'm observing, that everybody gets a chance to participate. And so, so that's my role, all right? Any concerns about that role? Great. So if you assent to these, if you can just raise your hand. Great, I see 100% agreement. So thank you. All right, so just quickly, as we will spend a little bit of time talking about assets, right? The question is, so what is an asset? And it can be defined as a useful and desirable thing or quality. So an asset is, root of it is sufficiency. It is enough. So God has given us enough to do the work that God has for Peakland Baptist. And our task this morning is to intentionally and clearly, creatively identify what those enough things are. Here are different ways to think about assets, right? Obviously, physical asset. So think about like what are the 2 or 3 physical assets in your church, but also what physical assets your congregation, that you might not have thought of at first, and be creative, be specific. And so instead of like, oh, we have a sanctuary, I would encourage and invite you to describe it as beautiful, open space for 200 people? Something like that, right? So it's a broader description that then opens up space for like creative things that you've never even thought of if you just think of it as sanctuary. We just meet on Sunday mornings at 11. Does that make sense? Yeah, all right. In addition to physical assets, there are also individual or human assets. And what are your gifts, your strengths, your superpowers? What talents and skills of you yourself, of the people at your table, of people at church that are not even here in this space right now? What are they, right? You might know of something that no one else knows. That is what would be really helpful to identify and put on the Post-it notes that are on your table. Associations. What groups of people do you connect with in your community? Maybe it's through your work. Maybe you have a book club. It could be inside the church. It could be outside the church. Institutions. What institutions or organizations have something in common with your congregation? Look, you've already identified Parkview Community Missions, right? That's an institution or organization. But there are others. And so think about that. those are also assets. And then finally, economic assets, right? What does your church spend money on? What are the specific financial resources that the church can use, can access? Those are economic assets. So those are the kinds of things that I'm inviting you to brainstorm, to identify. But also think about things that you and other people around you enjoy doing that are just frankly fun and life-giving to you. You know, many of you are steeped in the arts. Ed does scuba diving. And so just the things that you love doing, or the issues and causes that you and others are passionate about. And they don't have to be the same, right? But they're important to you. And so write that down. Ways that you can meet the needs of others while bringing joy to myself and to others. It's a mutual thing. Churches don't need to be a martyr society. It's mutually beneficial. All right, so here are some instructions. There are a lot, but it's not as complicated as all this is. All right, so after I go through these instructions, I'm going to invite you all to spread around the tables, maybe no more than 4 to a table, and so each of you will be given 15 to 20 Post-it notes. Welcome, and a marker. And so then you will be asked to identify as many personal, congregational assets, interests, passions as possible. You write one thing on one Post-it note. Be specific, be creative, and the more unusual, the better. All right? And you can also write the gifts and talents that you see in other people around your table, in this room, in the church in general. And write in large block letters so that people can see from a distance. And as you finish writing that asset, right, you can let the people around your table know, but then go and stick your little sticky note, just anywhere on this wall here. All right? So what it's going to look like, so this wall eventually is going to look something like this. You see, like each one of those, like the sticky notes, right? They're in block letters. They're all over the wall here, right? And you can kind of see, right? It could be just a lot of different things. So it's just like, oh my goodness, what a mess. It's kind of confusing. But what we will then do is that I'm going to ask you to group in 2s or 3s, and then to just kind of walk the wall here, and we'll move the flip chart and all of that, so that you can look at the various assets. And then I'm going to invite you 2 or 3 together to take the sticky notes, right, and cluster them together in groups that could possibly form into some new actions to create something new that is not currently happening. And so just kind of put them together, chaining them. I think there could be also put them on white 8.5 pieces of paper, because we're going to do something with them later. So when you cluster them together, right, so this is what it looks like originally. What it then might look like is something like this. Does that make sense? So, you've got like on the top, right over here, somebody who's a coffee barista. There's an airy space in the congregation for 20 or more people. Somebody's loved to bake, right? So ooh, that could be kind of put together and into some new action that has not been named yet. And so And notice that the airy space for 20 people, right? That also shows up in the next cluster. And so if there's something that you think can be used, but it's all like used already, just take another Post-it sticky note, write the same thing, post it on the wall, and make your own cluster. Because that same space can be used, maybe for somebody who has skills in massage, or who's a retired therapist, a financial advisor, book lover. So that space can be used for maybe all those kinds of things too. So, loves to bake, right? There are a lot of good cooks and bakers here, and so that's kind of replicated. And so feel free to replicate any asset that can be used in a different cluster. Just so, I don't want people to be fighting over assets here. That's not, an abundance mindset. Abundance. So let me give you a very, so then, as you cluster them together, I was kind of thinking that you can then put them on an 8.5 sheet, right? And then you put the title of that new action on this 8.5 sheet of paper with the cluster of assets. And then use blue painter's tape and just kind of tape it on the wall for right now. All right?
And if you have more than fit on 8.5, we have plenty of that big paper. So you have a sheet of that to put them on.
Yeah, so we've got, and so I'm going to use that wall space later, but like any kind of available wall space, just put your new action on the wall, right? So let me give you a real example from a past consultation that I did not do personally, but a fellow consultant did, and then shared the story. So this was back in about 2021 maybe, and went to the church, and they were doing this asset mapping, and found out that the congregation, somebody said, hey, we have a barn. We have a barn? Well, it just so turned out, not many people know, but a church member died and bequeathed the church a field, and in that piece of property was a barn. People did not know that. Like, oh, wow, okay. And as they kind of then continued the conversation and looking at assets, they found that there are a lot of people who are animal lovers in that congregation. And then there was somebody who said, oh, you know what? I actually have worked with the local animal shelter here. And right now, because of COVID and all of this, and the animal shelters are pretty full. And so then they saw the assets, right? They pick them up, they put them on an 8.5, and then they created this new action. They didn't decide it was just they brainstormed. Hey, we could possibly provide temporary animal shelter after a hurricane, because this was also really after a hurricane too. And that's something that they've never thought of. Now, I'm going to be absolutely clear and honest with you. I'm not even sure whether they went ahead with it. But that's not the point. So don't go self-censoring yourself and get oh, well, we can never do that, right? That's not the point. The point is just to come up with a possible new action. And this church might have never actually went out and created a new temporary animal shelter. But the important thing was that they identified it as an asset and as a possible new action. And they generated as many possible new actions as they could. So it's basically a brainstorming exercise. So don't feel I know there are people in this room, right, that think strategically and will always think of all the ways that that would take in order to have something come into reality. But I get that. But this is not the place to do that right now. Not the place. Okay? So that's what it is. stick the groups of assets into 8.5 11 by 11 pieces of paper, and then write the possible new action title on the paper. And I'm actually going to have like 4. Should we have 4 categories or 3? Martha, because I was going to put Parkview partnership, loneliness, and healing community as like the 3 main things. That'll be fine. Okay, so there's going to be 3 big categories on that wall here, and so you just, whenever you finish, then just tape it underneath one of those categories, if possible. And also, like if it doesn't fit or whatever, then just put it on the side of the wall, and we'll put it in other, like a little parking lot category, right? Because I also don't want you to think like, oh, I can't do this, I can't write this new action or put this clutter because it's not going to fit easily into one of the 3. No, just do it. Just do it. And we'll put it on the wall. Because God can surprise us. That's what God does. Right? Okay. Break. That's break for me to stop talking. Do you have any questions about this exercise?
Could you just go back to the slide that has all the different kinds of assets and just leave that up? Is that possible?
Yeah. Do you want like
that
like
list you had of like people and
yes.
That one right there.
Okay. So, any questions? I'm going to look at my thing to see how much time you have. Let's see here. Yeah, we're talking about like, 20 minutes to do this. Right now is 10 o'clock. And are we at the tables? Yeah, it looks like everybody's at tables of 4. You've got and so if you can use markers, that would be helpful so that it block letters so that people can see. Yes, Prina.
So we all should put individual ones on that wall?
Yeah, if you can put all of it on that wall first so that everybody's contribution is together. Okay. And then we'll start kind of like categorizing and clustering them into new actions. Okay, so for the next 20 minutes, brainstorm away.
Fran, if you want to make yourself a list, we'll come in and check it out, okay? A list of assets, church assets.
Yeah, you're good. I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, get mine upside down. Hey, Fran. Hi. Good to see you. I'm so glad you were joining.
Do you want to collect them in those 4 categories? Is that what?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to.
Sure. And maybe put it on an 8.5 because it's all right. So, do the limbo. All right. So we have several clusters of actions here for Parkview, right? So for those of you who created these clusters, would you be willing to just share, like, you can even come up here and say, like, relationship with Parkview and IOA, so that's a description. Caring people, sure. So there's teachers and professors, lots of teachers. So what would be an action plan that is new, that you've never done before, that can describe this cluster here? What would be so let me also be very clear, there's no right or wrong answers. This is just a brainstorming activity.
Tutoring.
Love, yes. And just because you put tutoring down, you're not committing yourselves to tutoring. It's an idea that then you can talk to Todd Blake about or whatever to see if that might be helpful, right? So I'm gonna get, where is the marker here? I'm just gonna put tutoring.
Parkview has one of their programs is called Life Skills Institute. They teach a lot of different classes, like computer classes. They, besides tutoring, they do sewing classes. They do cooking classes, basic skills for resume writing and professional development for people, especially after incarceration, to be able to get back into the workforce, to make sure they have the skills that they need to do that. So
yeah, so Life Skills Institute for just a whole bunch of not just maybe academic topics, but very practical topics for folks who, you know, just need an extra hand or insight or skills, right? Especially like maybe kind of re-entering society. And with the number of, I see that, I'll put it back up. The number of teachers that you have, but so almost every one of you also probably have these kinds of very practical skills too. So the teachers here are not just those who with PhDs or master's degree. You all have master's degree in being able to navigate through life, right? And so then one possible action is that in addition to your monthly good work of providing food, you now have a chance to get to know the folks that you provide food for even more in the more even personal interaction in tutoring or teaching. So that would be, I think, a new action because that's not something that you've done before. Okay, but see, you see now, you can begin to see how what you're already doing in terms of food can be a doorway to deeper relationships that might overlap into loneliness and healing. See, these are connected. All right. You got leaders and judges, nonprofit leaders, so you got lots of people with skills, educational building that is underused, and then people who work in healthcare and doctors. So you got lots of individual assets, right? You have one physical asset in terms of the space. What might be possible new action step coming out of this column here?
Financial advisor.
Okay. So it could be like here too, but now it could be financial advising or health advising, right? Counseling. Or if people coming, I'm just kind of creating stuff. I'm not creating new tasks for you to do, right? I'm just, once again, trying to help you to kind of like, it could be like for people who are re-entering society, and you know, there could be some legal requirements and so forth. How do you navigate through all of that? So there could be with the judges and so forth, legal. So now you see, you have people with these skills, and these then become concrete new action steps that uses your experience and expertise and skills to deepen your relationship with partners.
Okay, and rental space we could utilize for education buildings or even the classrooms here for these people to meet and help Parkview.
Right, great. So this is the educational space here, right? And so then that becomes like a place or where kind of teaching can take place, right? So that's kind of possible brainstorming. This is no mandate. But it's to stimulate creativity and possible new actions. Great. So I'm going to move over to addressing loneliness and look at some of the clusters, right? So yeah, you have hospitality, faithful, encouraging, advocating, empathetic, have people visit at my home, caring about, so a lot of qualities. So like having people visit at my home could be like a physical kind of asset here. Enjoying interacting with others, talk to people, caring. So like these are qualities of folks here, right? I'm not seeing a possible action step that can come out of that yet, but I'm not done on this sheet of paper, right? Okay. So look, you got a walking group. Now that is a new possible action step. And coming out of that is like, oh, we have people who like walking. You've got lots of people who like walking. That's great. Okay, walking, yeah, athletes. So yeah, so like you've got at least 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people who like to walk, who are going to walk anyway, and I'm sure these people are also caring. They like to talk to people, right? And so then a possible action item, hey, maybe we can create a neighborhood walking group and get to know our neighbors better. So, yes. So yeah, there's church land and field, right? And maybe there could be times when, in addition to walking the neighborhood, somehow we can use our field as a place where we can either walk or do something. Right? People can walk to my home. I don't know. So there's that EC class soccer game, watching March Madness. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to stop talking because I've talked a lot. What might be some action steps coming out of just these two right here?
When we have the new big television, it would be fun to get together and watch some of that right here.
Yeah. Did anybody put big honking TV as an asset? Because that's an asset.
It is.
Yeah. And so you can even like have watch parties, right?
Dinner and a movie.
There you go. I hear that. Dinner
Cornbread, let's go.
and a movie. And you've got folks who like to cook, I'm sure somewhere. And it says something that you are doing right now. Bingo! Not saying that you have to do it, but that's an idea that you can then, and you can say, oh, you know, we'll then kind of have a way to gauge your interest and so forth. Anything else that kind of like stimulates from you all any additional ideas, brainstorm ideas about how new action steps that this church can create to begin to address loneliness. Anything else?
Any of these activities don't have to be confined to the church.
Oh, no.
You can extend invitations to other churches or
Yes.
out in the neighborhood here and
Yes.
have them join us.
Yes.
Join for dinner and a movie or something on the field, or so way to bring
Right.
the community in and get to know other people.
Exactly. So
Volleyball net, take on another church.
I'm not going to write that down, but you get the idea, right? Okay. Yes.
Good trash talk going.
I mean, having people visit at my home. So this idea of here, not in the building, what some actions can be taken, like on your beautiful front lawn in that field, right? That is attractive to the neighborhood and is inviting, low barrier of entry, all of those kinds of things to begin to break down the loneliness epidemic. And then having people at my home, you know, it kind of goes back to the hospitality value that you have, but now, this is now, sometimes the church itself is a barrier, frankly, and my home is much less of a barrier. And so what might it look like? You know, this could be dinner and a movie, either at church with a big honking TV or in my house with a big honking TV. Once again, these are just ideas. They're not mandates. But I'm hoping that this will kind of get you to think in ways that you haven't thought of before. Possibilities that you have not considered before. It's not from me. I'm not the expert. I'm just reflecting back what you have identified as assets. And now I'm trying to kind of possibly make some connections. And when I leave, I hope to think that this isn't over, that I've just like stimulated, got the ball rolling, that the beautiful thing is that you can do this without a consultant. It's in you, right? I'm just kind of like giving you some a framework and also just a taste of an experience that you can continually have. Because we don't have everybody here, and some people take longer to process, and they come up with amazingly brilliant ideas a week from now, a month from now, as you even begin to start living into these things. Make sense? Okay, great. So, whoa! So this is very interesting. This is not kind of, it seems like it's like in between maybe?
Yeah, it overlap both.
And my goodness, the number of sticky notes here says to me like there is energy and interest in this, and let's look at it. All right? Yes, sir.
If you look, I put up there the comfortable available spaces that we have. Is the, before it breaks out, and then it goes into all the arts.
Oh, lovely.
Including metalworking, including woodworking.
Yes.
Visual arts, performing arts,
yes.
Music. And I think with the space that we have, we could do a community art show. We could do, I know that they had a band here playing one time, right, Ed?
Yep.
All right. And we've got parking. It could be a form of neighborhood outreach. It could be a form of city outreach. It could be open to anybody. It could be open to the artists that we have in this church. I know there are several visual artists in this room that are very, very talented. So it could be a way for them to show off their stuff, have their own gallery here if they want, with the available space.
Yeah.
If all you can do is listen to music, have a place to listen to music, your own music if you like. It's infinite. You know.
You can go on and on and on.
Right, and I will, and you're going to have to stop me and tell me it's time to get back on track if I do.
Well, this is not the time.
Right.
And so thank you so much, right?
And it fits, you know, loneliness. You know, people could come out and meet one another.
Yep.
Healing the community. I don't, you know, I believe music is the language of healing. That's, nobody's going to prove me wrong. That's all I gotta say.
All right.
I mean, and so,
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I know there's some others that were equally as passionate at that, so I'm gonna shut up now and let them speak.
Yeah. So I'm gonna open it up. Anybody want to speak to that? Because like right now, I think there is some, like deep, rich information right here. So it hasn't like kind of trickled down into concrete action steps yet. But just from, I forgot your name, sorry?
Robert,
Just as what Robert has said, right? He just named, I stopped counting after 30, concrete new action steps. And I was saying like, goodness gracious, like what if in 2 years, Peakland Baptist is now known in the community as almost like a community art center. Used a beautiful space that they use once a week as a sanctuary and worship space, but maybe some other times was
field out back.
yeah, or out back or whatever. So okay, I'm gonna shut up too. But like my goodness. And the kind, like you think about just kind of looking at this in terms of like clustering, right? The access here are immense. And it just seems like there is so much untapped individual and physical assets that you all haven't really thought about in connection to loneliness and healing.
I do want to say one other thing, out of comfortable, available space,
Yeah,
that can go everywhere.
of course.
For Parkview, for
Yeah.
facilities.
Yeah.
If we want to lease a spot to a counselor to do counseling for individuals that need it in the community, it can be anything.
Yeah.
It's all art. to
It's
me.
all art, yeah. And then there's also some very, very practical things like occupational health and industrial hygiene, writers, puppetry, cooking classes or even providing food during these events, musicians, audio, performing. And so, yeah, having a reputation of being inclusive. The artists in our community, artists maybe like in principle, right, are always the one who can see a little bit or maybe a lot more ahead of a community in terms of its possible future, in terms of critiquing unjust structures and practices, and to raise up the visibility and voices of those who are marginalized. Sounds like this church could possibly get into that. So, okay, I'm just gonna leave this here. Also, a lot of churches just leave this for a couple of weeks for folks who were not here at this retreat to come and to take a look. And if, Martha or church leadership can kind of explain this is what happened, and we missed you when Michael was here, but the sticky notes are still there, and we invite you to come and take a look at it. And any kind of ideas, send it to the church office, right?
Say it again, what you just said.
Oh, I said, not only just to come look at it, but have some more Post-its and pins there for people to add.
That is right. So this is not limited to just this time, right? Many churches have actually left this as a way to invite others to join in the conversation, to add their own assets, their own ideas. They may see different configurations for an action step that none of you all here have even thought about. So, great. All right, so let's look at healing. Once again, I see a lot of sticky notes, but I don't see any titles for concrete action plans. So I'm just going to read some aloud and see if any concrete action steps come to your mind, right? Book lovers, book reading, tie-dyeing, knitting, looming, tie-dyeing. So a lot of kind of activity. These are like studying the Bible, sermons, preachers, members, broke the habit of attending service, historical background of Peakland, working with children. There's several of these. Children with disabilities. So there's a playground. Landscape experts. Nature outdoors. A labyrinth, nature trail. There's spaces, a lot of spaces in the church building. Big backyard. Animal protection causes. Pets, dogs, love animals. So, what comes to mind as possible action steps out of all of these assets? They're clustered, but I think they're kind of clustered in terms of, either in actions or whatever. But how might they be kind of configured in a way that might suggest specific action plans, steps that could connect toward healing?
Book clubs or support groups.
Support groups? Yeah.
Book clubs.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna put some ideas here, right? I don't have enough kind of smarts to cluster them, but okay. So support group. Yep. And different people might find support in different ways, right? It could be support in terms of, it could be as simple as walking together in the neighborhood or in nature, right? It could be support by, hey, if you like to tie-dye, we're gonna come, once every 2 months or whatever. And while we're doing this, let's talk about what's going on in your life, what you're struggling with. Right? Okay, support groups. What else?
There used to be a group of people that got together to knit for the community, for people who needed warm hats and shawls and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So you could get a group together to make things for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it could be knitting groups, right?
Support for your habits.
Support, yeah, if you're kind of, addicted to crocheting, Crocheters Anonymous. Yes.
This full of yarn, help.
Right, exactly. What else?
Book club.
Book club. Yep. So if I might suggest, right, there's several about Bible studies and so forth. What if there were a class or, a periodic gathering where some of you would be able to identify those toxic passages in the Bible and say, look, historically, I would even say just recently, these texts they have been used as club verses against certain groups of people.
Cudgel.
But here's how we see it. And so instead of, so you see, having in this category maybe helps to instead of we're just gonna do, and I'm not denigrating past Bible studies or whatever, but it might help to hey, what would be an additional purpose for what we already do anyway that might meet the need and fulfill our mission to live out as a healing community. Yes, ma'am.
I actually brought a book for that purpose. It's called Unclobber, Rethinking the Misuse of the Bible and Homosexuality.
That's right.
Marginalized group.
Yes.
To say, what does the Bible really have to say about this issue?
Beautiful, right? And so we have then book club Bible kind of studies, but with healing in mind. Deprogramming. Yeah.
Christians Anonymous.
Christian. I'm putting it down. I like it.
What would you say, Ed?
Christians Anonymous. Christians in Recovery.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That's really good marketing. Right? I mean, just hearing your laugh, and then someone's like, "Oh yeah, I need that." Yeah. Okay. Do you see what I'm doing here? Right? I know that because this is so, for some, it's so kind of like removed from what church groups and kind of like strategic planning groups do. And most people would like, I don't want to have anything to do with like strategic planning because I do all this work, we do this plan, we have this report, nobody reads it, and nobody does anything with it. This is different, but it's also like kind of really stretches folks, right? And that's why I'm just kind of using a little bit of time to begin to like tease out. So as you, I'm going to do the others too, okay? I don't want. So we have on the others, business people, we have a kitchen, youth room, versatile spaces, playground, actually convenient elevator. Yeah, accessibility is a huge thing. Goodness gracious. Financial security, endowment, spacious parking, roominess. Yeah, these are others, but I can also easily see how some of these things can be applied in these areas into concrete action steps. Easily. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a second in terms of your assets. Oh, I'm gonna, this is kind
Yeah, I'm gonna get you a better pen.
Sorry. Thanks. Any,
The big black one.
I got a big black one here. It's a Sharpie, but I think, you know, you can.
That's good.
Yeah.
A facility. I think that our biggie is that we have a facility that
Really beautiful, so,
is beautiful and needs to be used
and accessible.
and accepted.
Yep.
We have land,
Land.
like 13 acres.
Okay.
I think that there are a lot of ways that we could connect with the community that are not doing that. Like their teachers, you know, may have or previously worked at local high schools, and that can tie into the community art show, getting the kids, you know, that are, want to pursue art involved, but then also like, you know, that was just one idea, but I think there are a lot of ways that we can connect with the community and bring them in.
So I'm going to say, we have connections to our community that we can better leverage. Is a good reflection? Yeah. So, facility, land. You already know that, really. Connection, you might kind of know that. What specifically, in terms of our just conversation here, what kind of like comes to your mind?
With accepting people.
Accepting people?
I think, yeah, the inclusiveness is something I think we're known for.
Okay. Sure. Accepting people, inclusiveness. All very good. I'm still going to push. You already know this. What is it about anything here that you want to say, oh, that was a really good idea that I've never thought of. Oh, that's something that we could do, we might not end up doing, but that's an interesting idea. And I would be willing to give it a try. Anything here? Things that you have not done before?
For me, because of students that I work with, and even within my own family, a huge part of healing is that acceptance, and for people to know that you are accepting people. I was looking at a website for our LGBTQ community that would find an accepting faith home, and we're not on that list for our area. So if we were just put on that list, then people that are in our area, for them to find a church home that was accepting and affirming of them would be huge for us, just to be put on that list, for people to know this is a safe space for them to come to.
I'm surprised we're not on that list.
Right.
So get on a list of safe churches.
Excuse me.
It's a self-selection. You put yourself on the list. It's a self-selection. That's why we're not on it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yep.
It's a low-hanging fruit, that we are, just to put our name on the list.
Right, right. Yeah. Say, this is who we are, not just to ourselves, right? And we're saying, like, this church is the best secret in Lynchburg. Well, yeah. But the things that we know about ourselves, what are ways and then we can take that next step to let the community know that this is who we are. And it actually meets a huge need in Lynchburg. Yes, sir, Robert.
You said something interesting. Best kept secret in Lynchburg. Yes, we are.
Yeah, Ed said that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. And we joined about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And when we were visiting to try to find our next church home, I had no idea. I'd heard of you. I'd heard the name, but I had no idea where we were or where this building was. Had no idea. My wife did, thank goodness, because I would have gotten lost because I'm a male driver. And I don't think, and I don't look at maps, and I don't listen to Google. Well,
Yeah. So that could be a problem, but okay, go on. Yes. Yeah.
No, that's just it. We are the best kept secret. Well, I don't know if we're the best kept secret, but we're a secret to the rest of Lynchburg.
Yep.
And I don't know. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah. Thank you for that testimony. Right. And so I think a big question, invitation, is how might we step out of kind of what we have done, thinking that, if we just kind of like, or whatever. What are proactive, intentional, public steps that we can take?
Yeah, I think calling yourself inclusive isn't enough. That's a buzzword everybody uses, but it's not going to get people here. I think that we're at a point where we need to target people that are looking for a church home. Target people that have been run out of their other church. People that have been abused by their other church. People that have a negative sense of organized religion but want to have a spiritual part of their life.
Yeah.
Where do they find that safe space where they can ask questions and feel free to have doubts and bring their questions without being feeling like they're not going to fit in.
Yes.
What about sponsorships?
Well, we can kind of talk about like the nitty gritties, right?
We're going to work on this communication with another consultant.
Exactly. Right, but I put it down.
This is part 2 of our year-long plan on our branding. How are we going to brand ourselves beyond using the hackneyed labels that are out there that don't distinguish us from anybody else? The best thing that tells people who we are is we're the Baptist churches that the other Baptist church pray for.
Yes.
That's what Nathan Brooks used to say about people. We're the Baptist church that the other Baptist churches pray for. And that's basically, I think, says a lot about who we are. We don't fit in.
That's right.
The Baptists with a big B.
Yeah.
Nomenclature, and we need to get that word out. So we're going to have to do that today, but that's on the table.
I know that
We'll be working on that.
Yeah, right? So you are Baptists on the outside, welcoming outsiders. At least that's one of the things that I'm hearing. Yep. So how does one do that? Okay. So here it is. What time is it? Okay. I'm going to ask the question one more time, right? What are you taking away from this conversation specifically? Something that strikes you, something that resonates with you as something that is new, you haven't thought of, might be something to explore that relates to your assets. What is it?
Clubs.
Tell me more.
A listening to music club. March Madness sports watching club.
You could do that right down here. Oh, yeah.
That are open to the community. Movie night. Yeah. Thank you. Artsy fartsy movie club.
Yeah, that's right.
We start with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Mary. So look, we're not talking rocket science here, right? I'm not trying to get a gotcha from you by saying, hey, give me the most profound insight that you have, whatever. Movie night is an amazing idea that you haven't thought about before. That could be easily, and try. Just a couple times and see what happens, right? And with a strategic choice of movies, you can also message your values. Bill and Ted, baby, or something else, right? We're not that church that's afraid to show certain movies. And we're choosing this one because it speaks to our commitment to diversity and community inclusion, or whatever it is, right? There are a lot of ways that you can kind of slice and dice this.
I think having the book club would be.
Oh, okay. Because you all are already meeting to talk about books. You all love to engage in ideas.
Dance classes.
All right, dance classes. Okay, Mary.
Knitting club. In a walking group, that would be a really good thing.
Yeah.
To come together as a community and make some friends and nature as well. And being outside.
And having, I think, some art, not only a place to display, but also maybe a class.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. May I share with you what Beth keeps on talking about when we were interiming I was interiming at Peakland. This was during Christmas season. And in Glenellen, it's an amazing sight, but somehow almost all the neighborhoods have luminaries just along the sidewalk.
Luminaria,
thank you, yeah. And
we did that here in Lynchburg as well, over in Lincoln Forest. Their father can tell you about that too.
Yeah.
Because they used to help us do it.
Yeah. And people would drive through the neighborhood just to watch, right? And Beth was like, gosh, as she was driving through during Christmas time, whatever, like, she can always like envision Peakland, just like with Luminaria, and then like with these luminaria like just leading to the church before like the Christmas service or whatever, as a way to say, hey, come. But it is classy, it is, and I would imagine if somehow the neighborhood kind of like saw and caught a vision, this neighborhood that's like kind of tucked away or whatever will just attract during the Christmas season just to see the beautiful lights in the luminaria all lying on Pequot Avenue. That was just her, from her childhood. It stayed with her, and she said that, right? There's no implied or whatever in terms of what you should or shouldn't do or whatever. The point that I'm trying to make is that there's so many different ways that your passion for the arts can not only draw attention to this congregation, but might actually even more kind of beautify and make this whole neighborhood a unique destination for the city. Wow.
Yeah.
If that happens, you can credit that, right? And I'll get her off my back because I know, but that's not my job to tell them what to do. But anyway, okay. Hey, thank you so much for your participation, right? I think I pushed you as much as I could. But the second half of our retreat, we will be engaged in an activity called the World Cafe. And this is an exercise that many facilitators use, especially to help groups come and have conversations, but in a kind of a mixed way, to generate new ideas, and also to come together to see what new ideas will come forth of a presenting question and so forth, right? So, we've identified assets, we know kind of the mission, the people that we are called to serve, and all of that, and in this fellowship hall, instead of 8 tables, we have 6, and you should see a sheet of paper in the middle, and on that sheet of paper, it will either say something about Parkview, loneliness, or healing. So that will be like the topic of that particular table. All right? And so I need at each table somebody to serve as table host. Table host is a person who will kind of take some general notes, and also the table host will not move to another table. So if you like where you are seating and do not want to move, that could factor in your decision in becoming a table host. So everybody will be at one of these tables, no more than 4 individuals per table. And for 20 minutes, people will answer a question. The questions will be on the table itself. It will be also on the screen. And then after 20 minutes, then we will ask those people who are not table hosts to move it could be random, or it could be to a table that you really want to provide some input on. Does that make sense? Okay, and so, if you were on a table for Parkview, and then after 20 minutes they'll say, okay, now get up and go to another table, you might say, I really want to, you can say, I don't really care, I'll just go to any table that's available, right? Or you could race to the table that is going to be addressing loneliness, and then kind of spend 20 minutes in talking about that. So at each round, so here's the kind of important part. This builds on what we worked on this morning to be most effective, is to build on what we've worked on this morning. What we've worked on this morning are just some of those clusters here. Yeah, we didn't like get some very specific action steps, but that's okay. So let's say that you happen to be at the table talking about, the topic is loneliness. So the first round is, the year is 2026, and you're filming a documentary about Peakland Baptist in 2026, 2 years from now. So what are you filming the congregation doing to address loneliness based on Parkland's current membership? So don't, say, oh yeah, now we have 100 people now at church. No. Just the people that are here now, who are members. Current assets that we've just identified. And also any possible new action steps. So then the folks around the table, you can have some conversation about, okay, so we're a film crew. We're now in Parkland in 2026, and our table topic is about loneliness. So let's imagine what kind of observable actions that we can film that this church is doing to address loneliness, to address their partnership with Parkview. Okay? I'm going to pause here. Does that make sense?
It's just, what you got is just what he said.
Okay. And then after 20 minutes, you will be asked to change tables if you're not the table host. And then when you get to the second table, then imagine yourself to be a second film crew. Now you are still doing a documentary, but now you're going to listen to the table host as that person gives a summary of some of the things that were talked about. And while you are at the table in round one, any kinds of ideas and so forth, write it on the sheet of paper. You can also doodle and make some pictures or whatever. Anything to capture what you are imagining that you are filming at Peakland Baptist. So then the second group then sees what is already on the sheet of paper, hears from the table host, these are some of the things that they've talked about in addressing loneliness. So then now imagine yourself as the second documentary crew and say, oh, what other things can we film? In addition to building upon what are on the table already, what we're hearing that maybe the first film crew missed. So this totally new second group comes and adds their ideas and possible kind of vision for what could the church is doing that they can observe about loneliness, about Parkview, and so that's going to be 2 rounds, and then the third round, get up, move again, and then now the third group you'll be at a new table, right? And so you see then what the first 2 rounds have contributed onto the sheet of paper. You hear from the table host, kind of a burgeoning narrative now. And then your task around the table is to come up with some narration. Narrate what members of Peakland did from 2024 to 2026 in order to achieve the scenario that you have heard, to achieve the scenario that you are reading and seeing on that flip chart paper. is an imaginative exercise. There are no wrong answers. There are no right answers. It is hopefully a way, once again, to invite each and every one of you to stretch a little bit and to imagine, but hopefully in a more targeted way that kind of addresses, right? What the church could be doing in Parkview, loneliness, and to become a healing community. And sure, yeah, there could be some overlaps, right? You could, movie nights or book clubs and dance classes and you know, I'm hoping that some of those things will show up in those sheets of paper. But it will also show up with some detail of current members using their assets, using the assets of the church and their connections, and their interests and their passion, and then to kind of build upon that. Then we will report back to the whole group so that each one of you will have, you know, a spokesperson will be invited to come here and to share, this is what the documentary is showing in 2026 as it addresses or as it films what Peakland is doing in the area of a healing community, in addressing loneliness, in their partnership with Parkview. Okay, so that's the instruction. We're gonna have lunch, so I'm giving you time to kind of think about that a little bit while you're eating. You can have a conversation with your table mates about that, or you can have a conversation about something else. It's all good. And about 30 minutes or so, I'm gonna get everybody back, and then we will actually do this exercise. At this point, are there any questions? Yes?
Okay, our sheet says healings.
Uh-huh.
When people come to this table, we're talking about the healing.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so your table says healing. When people come to your table, they will think about like the assets, the action plans and so forth, right? And to kind of imagine filming a documentary of what current Peakland members are doing to concretely be a healing community. Yep. Yep. Okay, good question. All right, I'm going to offer a word of blessing, if I may, for this food, and then let's enjoy the sustenance and the food that is provided, and then also conversation. Okay. Yeah. Come on, Cindy. You can, yeah. I'll be your Vanna White. I can hold the sheet of paper. And if you could use the microphone stuff.
Do you want me to like describe the things that we did and then the narrative of
Yeah.
where we want to go?
Yes.
Okay.
How about stand over here? Sorry to be so directive, but so that the microphone can catch you.
Okay, and I need to be able to see this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So
Well, she needs to see it.
I need to see it so I can say what I need to say about it. So for us, this is about a healing community. And the things that we talked about was a food pantry and nutritional health, Life Skills Institute, and some skills training, which includes like CPR and first aid and things like that. Accepting and affirming of LGBT community and parent support groups. A diverse community, a truly diverse community in regards to economic status, social status, identification, and we wrote gay, straight, abilities, gender, race, and thought. and careers, grief counseling and support, caregiver support groups, art as a healing medium, and Peakland Connects. So our narrative is really that in 2024 that we evaluated current programs such as Peakland Connects, studies groups and choirs, and our partnership with Parkview Community Mission and food bags is what we're currently doing. We decided to expand in areas that contribute to healing communities. So with Parkview Community Mission, that we would continue with the bags and expand to do Life Skills Institute basic skill training. With Peakland Connects, that we would also include caregiver support and grief counseling. And with regards to groups, there's 3 studies, which are Bible, book, and topical studies, arts, choir, music, painting, and performing, and support LGBTQ people and their families, and doing all of this as a community that is accepting and affirming of all. So that's where we are.
Let's give her a hand. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go and put
Here, I'll post that for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, who's next?
Well, that's going to be a tough act to follow.
Yeah, but you can do it.
Well, she's on the board. All right, we've got 2.
Okay, that's okay. You can just use the microphone.
And well, you know, the narration thing, I don't follow directions very well.
How about, you can just stand over here. How about this? And then I think I might even be able to.
I don't know if I can get there. I don't follow directions very well. So I've been narrating. I've been narrating all the way through. So over here is the narration. This is the list of things that have come up. And this was at a separate table. And I could tell that a lot of the people that came to our table came from this table, came to this. But anyway, scene 1, title 1. The title of the first documentary is Food for Thought. First Sunday of each month, congregants fill a 1-gallon bag, Ziploc bags for students who don't have food when school is not in session on the weekends. 80 per week, about 2,400 per year. And scene 2 shows the bags being taken to the Plaza Pantry for Parkview every Thursday, well, Thursday of the week that we do it, after we do it. Scene 2, title 2 of the second part of the documentary is Educational Skills Training for the Future. Life skills, I like that better, but like I said, she's an overachiever and I'm Robert. So,
we love you anyway.
Peakland congregants travel to Parkview to provide skills training for adults, i.e., I put down computer skills, resume development to get jobs. Cooking was also mentioned. Art was mentioned. If people that are interested in art to, have somebody teach basic art skills. All right. Scene 2 shows Peakland congregants collecting clothes drives, professional clothes, I guess I should say, in this neighborhood. Lightly used, like new, however you want to term it, put that term together, with our neighborhood for Parkview's, okay, I got ahead of myself. So these clothes can be worn to interviews, to work in. Now, when I say work clothes, automatically your thought may go to suits, ties. No, it could be coveralls if somebody wants to work in the fields of skills, HVAC like our son does, or electrician, or wants to work for a plumber, because I can tell you right now that these guys and gals, when they get enough training, they make as much money as some doctors, and probably they probably make more than politicians, which is a good thing. And so that's basically the scene 2.
and we take it to the clothes closet at Parkview Mission. Then the third group came in, and we titled this part, Peakland Connects with New Missions. Sorry, Leslie, I added just a little bit more to it. While visiting Peakland congregants are planning to expand expanding to meal service from 1 meal a year to 1 meal a quarter or for a year. Okay? Serves about 100 right there, 100 meals each time that they go. We go once a year. I'd like to see it expand to 4 times. And seeing 2 citizens, Peakland's Artsy Fartsy Club is what we call them, perform music to Parkview diners while they pick up their meals. Just a thought.
Oh, that's cool.
I had to get that artsy fartsy stuff in. And then we actually had a scene 3, which I thought was a great idea. Now, this will take a little time to develop, but you know, we've got 2 years since it's between 24 and 26, about bringing the garden back, raising fresh vegetables, and donating to Parkview Missions for their food pantry.
That's a great idea.
I'm sorry, Ms. Potter, stand up. You're the one that takes credit for that.
Hey, Bundy.
So, that's it.
Wow.
All right.
Thank you, Robert.
And told y'all I had too much coffee.
All good. It's all good. All right, who's next? Come on up.
All right, for the table that had the loneliness topic, the screen crew would actually film not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people with Peakland Connects, but every member of the congregation is participating in Peakland Connects. Everyone is talking to everyone else every month, and hopefully, in some respects, not every person every day, but among that congregation, there's going to be interaction, there's going to be a connection every day. So that would be scene 1. Scene 2 is the walking group. I think of all the little tags that had ideas, walking, I think, was one of the top things that people enjoyed doing. But this one's with a twist. Not only would you have the walking group, which meets here and would walk in different places, but we'd add the twist that we would have a local guide. So if you're walking a neighborhood, you'd get some history of that neighborhood and what that house, who lived in that house, or some famous person, or some event that occurred in that particular part of the community. Maybe if you're walking downtown in an area, you might have a local architect, historical architect, little guide that would go along with that walking group. So you wouldn't just get the walking, but you get what a lot of walking groups don't provide, which is the bonus of a little education twist with that. So that would be another new development and new opportunity there. The craft and art groups would be active and invite people from the community to participate in those as well. Dinner and a movie would be a regular event, and you know, a good point was made that all of these things that we're talking about are basically what are commonly known today as affinity groups, things that you want to join because of the thing. There's nothing about religion in any of these things. So the point was made, shouldn't there be some, at least message or attempt to communicate some biblical message? It doesn't have to beat them, you don't have to beat people over the head with a Bible, but maybe there should be some religious reference. So maybe some of these movies, there could be a religious twist, a religious theme without, once again, I'm not talking about you're saved, you beat them over the head with the Bible, but have a religious, if you will, moral issue, if you want to call it moral instead of religious, have some type of twist with maybe a discussion after the movie. One of the great movies we talked about at our table is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Interesting issues with that movie. But in any event, a discussion beyond that. And then, so that would be the dinner and the movie with a twist. And then the book club, once again, would be participating and expanding its discussions. And then our music program would not only include the music that we provide in the church that enriches everybody and inspires everybody, but also would continue to have the concerts for the community where just invite everyone to participate and once again, be a part of something. If we're talking about loneliness, showing up and just sharing music with somebody, that there are no barriers, there's no thing that you have to really believe to come and enjoy that, and it's an easy way for someone to become a part of something. So that was our deal.
All right, thank you. Do we have one more group, or is that? Yes. Yes, wonderful.
Trying to figure out how to do it.
I know, you can do it.
Okay, we had healing, and we took it in a little different perspective with the people that came to the table. So we're filming in 2026, and we've done something with the permission of the individual, of course, is to interview some of the people, even with a mask, you know what I mean, when you don't identify the person, but they're talking, that were hurt possibly in previous churches who have decided to come to Peakland Baptist because they're not judged here. I think Peakland Baptist is really good about not judging people. And in order to expand on that, we also thought we should have quarterly dinners with all the members, newcomers, prospects, and expand that by showing movies that are relevant to the group's healing, which Ed has mentioned. And that the time of day is important to do this, maybe after church when everybody's together, or a certain time that we know that people will a lot of people don't like to drive at night. And we thought we could do lunch and then a movie and again a discussion after that. And then to continue some things that are done with groups, with people together. So Food for Thought continues, and right now we're doing 320 bags a month, and maybe increase that in a couple of years. And also maybe work with Interfaith Outreach or Meals on Wheels to have some goodie bags go out to some of their clients that may not always, receive meals. And I know at certain times of the year they do receive things, but this would be in addition, again, working together to put these together. Also, Adopt a Spot. I know Leslie talked about this, is to pick up trash, which we can always do together as a unit. The baking parties that started in 2024 continue in 2026, and Peakland Connects continues. I love what Ed said, of course. We put with additional people participating to show that Peakland Baptist Church cares about each other as individuals, and then for people, and I thought this was great from the group that Ed said about everybody sharing and being in community with each other. So
that's lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before you do it, can I just share one thing that came up in
one
group?
Let me get out of your way.
You all mentioned something about visibility. So one of the things that we were talking about in one group was either t-shirts or an apron, so that when we're doing things out into the world, like for example, if we're out cleaning up over at a park or something like that, we all got the t-shirt on, or we've all got whatever we decide that is, the hat or whatever that is, so that we're immediately identifiable as a group. So I thought that was good. That kind of resonated with all the.
Right. Tie-dye shirts could be a part of it too. Well, anyway, go ahead. Yes. Very, very good. All right, so we have done this, reporting out.
Thank you for the money.
And so, first of all, my goodness, right? The kind of creativity, the assets, there were some, as I was looking around, like people were like, oh, like some aha moments, or I hadn't thought of that. That's really inspiring. And that comes from you and not from some outside person coming in, telling you what to do. And so that's the point. And that's also something that you can continue to do as you begin to live out the future that God has for you. So I do have one final question. Now we've kind of finished creating a sketch of a thriving Peakland Baptist in 2026. Now, list all the things that you can do to make sure this never happens. Yeah? Okay. So, I'm going to get my handy dandy Sharpie. My experience is that when I do this, I gotta get ready because they come fast and furious. All right? So think of all the things that you collectively can do to make sure that none of the things that you just kind of envision, to ensure that none of those things will happen.
Let's burn place to the ground.
Burn place to the ground. I'm going to push back to say, even if you burn the place to the ground, those things can still happen. But I'll put it out. Okay.
Only come to church on Sundays.
Don't volunteer to do anything.
Yeah.
Don't volunteer.
It won't work because
Sit
we've
at
never
home.
done this.
Okay, one at a time, one at a time. All right, sit at home. Okay. It won't work, what?
Because we've never done this before.
Oh my goodness, the dreaded, we've never done this before.
Virginia State motto.
Okay, what else? Come on now.
I don't like the people on the committee.
Okay.
I'd love to help, but I don't have that skill.
Yeah. I love to help, but don't have
Or the time.
the skill.
Just but and fill in the blank.
Yeah. But dot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yep. What else?
Somebody else will do it.
Someone else will do it. What else?
I'm too old to do it.
Oh. I'm too old to do it. Okay?
I don't feel like it.
I don't feel like it. Okay?
I don't like the direction the church is going in.
Holy moly, now you're really meddling. Okay, don't like the direction church is going. Okay?
It interferes with my busy social life.
All right. Interferes, gosh, I cannot, interferes with my social life. All right.
Try but give up out of frustration.
Try to.
Try but give up because of frustration.
Oh, okay. Try, but give up because of frustration.
You
Okay.
can't make any difference.
Can't make any difference. Okay?
Lack of communication.
Lack of communication. Yeah.
Lack of commitment, it's a variation of the theme.
Yep, I'm just gonna slash commitment. There can be lots of lacks, but
Don't have the money?
don't have the money.
XYZ Baptist Church tried that a long time ago and it didn't work.
Okay? What else? What else in terms of, I don't know, I'm going to use a big term here. They're kind of like either structural barriers or something like that that actually is just kind of preventing the church in general from like moving forward. I think, so one of the things that I've heard, right, that you've already addressed is like too big of a committee structure, too much overhead. That can also ensure that none of this, because you have to go through so many different committees or whatever, even in order to kind of make it happen, right?
Not so much a problem now.
Yeah, exactly. So I use that as an example.
I think inertia is still the strongest force in the universe.
Yeah. Okay. And so inertia in terms of
doing anything.
Okay.
Getting people to do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it comes with maybe lack of people leading leadership. I think people are afraid of getting some lead. And then they have to leave. And they don't know where they're going.
Yeah, fear is a good one.
Afraid to leave. And I'm just going to put inertia as kind of like, you know exactly what you, when you read that, okay? Anything else? Yeah, like, so a lot of these are just like, kind of variations on the theme of, it's good, but I just don't, whatever, right?
They're excuses, all of them.
They're excuses, exactly. That touches into like a deep fear.
Yeah.
And that can be a huge barrier. And so it might then be helpful to think about, so what can the church do step by step as part of spiritual development even, to empower, to equip folks to take some level of leadership. Right? So to kind of lower that barrier of fear. And which then it's either inertia or what's the law? A thing that is at rest will stay at rest. It takes a lot of energy to get it moving. But once you get it moving,
You have inertia.
you've got inertia.
You've overcome inertia.
You overcome, exactly. So in some ways, like, at least these two things are somewhat related, at least on this level, kind of that emotional level, right? And so, fear for a congregation like this, it could be you all like perfectionism. Like I don't really want to do this because I can't do it perfectly. That is a big barrier to many churches. I'm not just saying you, but so may I put that down?
Yes.
Another fear is it's too late. It's an exercise in futility.
Yeah. So there are real, it's kind of excuses, yes, but there are real emotional, psychological barriers too that keeps a church, not just Peakland, or even any organization, stuck in what it's always doing, or stuck in just going nowhere. And so it takes courage, it takes love, it takes a willingness to not get it right the first time, or the second time, or maybe the third or the fourth time. But to know that this is important enough for us to screw it up. Yeah. Anything else? See, now I think now we're getting to some interesting things. Anything else along those lines, maybe? Excuses are real, so I'm not discounting that.
I think the next thing is, how do we overcome these excuses?
Right. But one thing at a time. Yes, absolutely, of course. We're not just making a list saying, oh God, you got all this list of things that we'll making sure that we fail. Woohoo! Yeah, why do we take this consulting anyway? Yeah.
If you had to give us, as an outsider, looking at us and knowing us, what are three things you would tell people to do?
Well, I wouldn't tell you what to do, but these are things that I think could be possible obstacles, right? So I am going to, I've already named one, because you guys were not naming it. And that is just, this sense of, because frankly, I feel it in myself, right? I mean, like,
a very common.
it's a very, very common kind of fear, especially those of us who are kind of doing professional stuff in front of people, and I don't want to make a fool of myself. I over-prepare, so there's that. I think for a congregation like yours, right, could be a possible, is what, I'm just going to say, proximity to the people that you're wanting to feel like called to serve. And so there is sometimes a disconnect in assumptions based on your lived experience, and frankly, may I just call it your privilege. So there is a great temptation. I feel it in myself. To get frustrated, maybe, that like how come certain groups of people, like don't come to whatever. And so I might even say, what I've learned in Charlottesville is there's an 84-year-old pastor in Charlottesville who had never stepped on the grounds of UVA, much less the rotunda, until last year. Blew my mind! But she's African American. It's historic, it's structural, and that is something that's going to be really, really hard to overcome for them. And so it may then, like the beautiful passage in 2 Philippians, that canonic passage of Christ who was himself God, right? Such privilege descended willingly to earth to become a servant, to be one of us. What might that look like for people? That's a deep spiritual question. So that could be a barrier. So, and I'm speaking for myself, right? I'm still learning all the ways that I am so disconnected. I'm not white, I'm an immigrant, and yet there's certain things that I take for granted that my black brothers and sisters, or even Hispanic, like they don't take for granted. This is not safe. You talk about safe community and healing and all of that. Yeah. But what it's done for me is it has softened me up. It has opened my heart. And when I walk along the streets of Charlottesville in neighborhoods that I once like, oh, I don't know, I should be here. But now I see those people there differently. It's not like they've changed. They've always been beloved, amazing people made in the image of God. But I just like to think that maybe I changed a little, and I still have so much more to go and to learn. So similar to this then is also, and now I'm just naming like the things that I have learned. It may or may not be applicable to you all, right? But a savior complex. I'm there to help them because they need it. I've got the assets. I've got the education. I've got the connections. I know what institutions that I can leverage. And I forget that maybe God's calling me to serve is in some ways that I need them just as much as they need me. Maybe they need like kind of material or whatever, but by golly, I need them because they teach me by how they live to fully trust in God. I trust, frankly, more in my bank account and my investment accounts. So I have the savior complex. And it disconnects me because people are really good at sniffing out. You're here to, you're looking down with all good intentions, right? And yet I know that there's structurally and systemically there are things that are just unequal and inequitable. And yet, but they could sense that there is just something within this person that, out of their good intention, there is still some negative impact. And it continues those microaggressions and the trauma that they experience. So, those are 2-3 things. I think that was the question. Thanks for asking. I hope you were able to receive these answers. But I speak really more about my own experience in my life, to whatever extent that it may or may not be applicable. That's all, But you ask, and I want to be honest about my own life and what I have discovered that have been barriers to make sure that those things that you talked about never happens in my life. And I'm still a work in progress in that. Okay. Well, that was a downer. But there is hope. Because we are at the end. We are at the end. So, given all of this, right, what would you like to, if you're willing, to share about your takeaway from our time together today?
I feel hopeful.
Feel hopeful. Okay, may I write this down? So, after all this, we need something that is more positive. Okay.
And optimistic.
Hopeful, optimistic. Go ahead. Anybody else? And it's okay to say, gosh, I'm still a little anxious, right? Because I'm still worried about our current reality.
I think it's made me think about things which I have maybe not considered. Thoughtful. Maybe thoughtful about things.
Yeah. So, kind of, I don't know, stimulated thoughts. Okay?
And thankful. Thankful for the people that stepped up.
Yeah. Thankful.
So I'm going to inject a more negative term, but I'm afraid we might try to do too much, and I think it's important to do what we can manage.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do too much, then you give up easily.
Absolutely. What would be a good word to say?
Overshoot. Overshoot.
Overshoot? Would that be?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah, so let me be clear once again, like all the things that have been generated, right?
Yeah.
They are now they're new ideas for consideration. They are insights that perhaps the congregation as a whole has not considered before. It's certainly not, once again, a mandate from the congregation or from Martha or from anybody else that we must do these things. But now it's additional information that hopefully not just help you, but the rest of the congregation, and invite them to a larger conversation now with these extra ideas. And so this is one of several actions that this church has taken to get from stuckness to start moving. But there's still ways to go in terms of discerning prayerfully exactly what are the priorities and the directions, right? And so let's do the one thing that more of us are excited about, that leverage many more of our assets and strengths and interests, that are aligned with who we are and who we want to be. But I always appreciate, yes. Anything else? I come out with a real sense of gratitude. Gratitude for who you are, for the continuing gifts that you continue to give to me, back in 2017, 2018, now, the prayers. You have been a congregation that I continue to feel a connection to. And so to have the privilege and the honor of walking alongside you, of having this an opportunity to use some of my own skills and leverage my assets, right? You've given me a gift. So I thank you for that. I thank you for your faithfulness. I thank you for your desire to imagine with the Spirit's help in terms of how Peatland Baptist is and can be through the help and the strength and the grace and the leadership of God. So thank you very, very much. Let's see here. And with that, unless there's like any great objections, I'm gonna pray. And it is what? 2:17? Are you gonna be mad at me for feel like cheated?
No, I'll make them work. No, I'm kidding.
I do have one other thing too. And, okay. I am also continuing to learn how to be a better consultant, how to be a better facilitator. And so it would be very, very helpful to me if you can give me some feedback. So this is the URL, you can take a picture of it, right? Or you can actually use the QR code and scan it. Martha's doing that, and then she can share that link with you all. It just asks like, what went well for you? What could be improved? Was there an elephant or elephants in the room that still have not been addressed, right? What are some things that you wanted just to share with me and not with, the Martha or Ed? And what I do is I take all of those comments and so forth, I make them anonymous, and so there's some, some themes and so forth, and then I just send them back. I'll send them back to Martha and to Ed, so that you both also have a sense of a pulse of what the participants felt in terms of what was helpful and what could have been improved. So that's data then for you all too, and it's all data for me, right? In terms of my own personal and professional growth. So if you have time and willingness, thank you in advance for doing that. And so now,
what do you recommend is the next step for us?
Well, I think here are some kind of possible things that you can do. Number one, share with people who were not here your experience. Just I'll be honest with it, right? And if possible, share with them some of the, some of the stories, some of the kind of the documentary clips or whatever. Because the more people, and they're already there, but if there are ways that church leadership or a small team can like encapsulate some of that information, that could be put in a newsletter, that may be even shared over sermons or whatever it may be. So the more people get to have a chance to have a glimpse of some of the learnings from our time together, then when you have further conversations about specific next steps, more people will be apprised of the journey that you all have been on, but others have not, in this kind of way. But just because they're not here doesn't mean that they don't care, right? Many of them. And that to give them a synopsis of this is very, very helpful to kind of get them up to speed, because this whole thing is this is a very Baptistic thing that we're doing, right? There's no bishop, there's no consultant that's telling you what to do. You all have the responsibility to discern. Sometimes we would just rather somebody tell us what to do. But I think this is a much more mature and grown-up thing that you all are doing. Because as you are grappling with this, hopefully you're taking proper responsibility and ownership, so that when decision is being made, you can now connect the dots between what took place here to the actual kind of action steps that the church is doing. And that just saves Martha and Ed and others from selling that to the rest of the congregation. And if there's any selling that needs to be done, I hope that you all will sell it. Right?
Right.
Because it's not coming from me, it's coming from you.
What would you think about doing something like we did with Peakland Connects during the month of April, where just in a couple of minutes during worship, one of you, 2 or 3 of you could just come up and share some of your thoughts that came out of this weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
It seems to have worked really well, where it's just like 2 minutes.
That's right.
But worship is it's the single space where we've got the group
Yes.
together, so.
Yes. Yeah. And a couple of these ideas really resonated with me. I'm not sure whether they're going to happen or not, but boy, I was really excited about walking the neighborhood and talking about the architectural features and the houses and, how to sneak into the back door of so-and-so's house. No, that was not fun. Yeah.
And I would encourage everyone to wear their tie-dye shirts tomorrow to church.
Oh!
People may say, why do you have that on, or whatever, yeah.
Yes. So, I'm going to risk asking a yes or no question, right? Or maybe from 1 to 5, how, I don't know, engaged, how fun this day was for you. So you can be honest, I don't know.
I like it.
It's good.
Yeah. What is one of them?
Oh, yeah. I'm not telling you because, then one was like, I got up in the morning for this. To 5 is like, I'm really glad I was here. You can, I don't need you to whatever, but my hope is that unlike so many of the kind of really serious strategic planning, blah, 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 right? It's like, oh my God, anything but that, shoot me, whatever. I hope that this was at least kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And that you were honestly and sincerely involved, and you were asked, and we really wanted your perspectives. Your opinion, your thoughts, your questions, they really matter.
What I loved seeing was how many, how we came together on so many things.
Right.
It's like, you might expect one posted on this, but to see 6 on the same thing, and then you realize a lot of people are
I'm not the
thinking
only
the
one.
same thing.
Exactly. Those are the kinds of experiences that can really, like I said, no matter what kind of, it can help people come together and to say, yeah. And I'm sure most of these things aren't surprise, right? You got the assets and all of that. But I also would like to think that some of the action steps were I had thought of that. That's a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a big step to help to move a congregation or an organization from the standing still position to get it.
Yeah, you see
moving.
possibility there
Yes.
and feasibility because there are enough people who are on board.
They're on board. They actually help co-create this.
Yeah.
It wasn't all your idea. Their ideas came forward.
Right.
I love when they're saying, "Oh yeah," and then we can make this twist on the walking thing, right? I heard that. Yes. Exactly. And that would not have been something that Ed, even though he's so smart and visionary, he's not gonna be able to come up with that himself.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So this is a very Baptistic thing that we're doing right now. You are the priesthood of believers. And God has already equipped you in terms of what is needed to be a thriving congregation. So this is just kind of an exercise and a time that you have set aside to invite the Spirit of God in, to listen, to the Spirit of God, but to one another that's already dwelling within each and every one of you. And those are some of the things that happen. And this is just the beginning, right? I'm going to stop talking, I promise. But in about 5 minutes, you're leaving this building. I hope that okay, that was good, that was great, whatever, that's not the end. That was just like the nudge that hopefully you're gonna get this rolling. And so it's up to you all to kind of continue to push, to share, to get the news out, right? To wear your tie-dyes, to answer questions. I think that's what church is about. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Allow me to offer a word of blessing. Oh, most gracious God, you are in this place. You are in our hearts and our minds. You are in Lynchburg, in Virginia, in U.S., in the world, in the cosmos. We give you thanks for this time that we have been able to gather and to seek your guidance, your inspiration. And you promise that when your people seek, that they will find you. We have experienced a holy moment on holy ground. May your blessing shower upon Peakland Baptist, for their minister, their leaders, each and every person, to live out fully their unique calling as your disciples, as your witnesses, as channels of your light and love and compassion and healing and community and belonging. Because our world desperately needs all of these things. Bless them as they go their separate ways to their homes. Gather them back tomorrow as a community to worship. And may their worship spill over the 11 o'clock hour into every moment of their lives. I pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Blessings. Love you.
One more thing for